Michelle, I'm curious where you see kind of the future of minerals and mining for the US, whether that like you mentioned, means abroad or that means here domestically. And obviously there's a lot of challenges to that, but also maybe speak to not just the mining of the minerals, but the actual production of the minerals into something useful. And I know there's a lot of harm with waste and all that kind of stuff. So what's our approach? What's that look like for us going forward?
Well, we are a minerals rich country. We have almost everything, at least in terms of resource. For everything from like just basic construction all the way to the most sophisticated battery chemistry. We have almost everything in some form of resource occurrence, if not in commercial production. Um, but it's not easy. We don't have the same advantage when it comes to non-fuel minerals that we did in the shale plays, the private lands mix. A lot of what is very interesting is on federal lands. So that means a more sensible federal lands policy when it comes to establishing mining claims, being able to move forward with exploration and production. The difference is the brines. So, part of the attraction of extracting lithium and other minerals from brines is that those to a large degree are private land assets, and so they can be chased, a little more easily than some of the other stuff. But when we look at things like platinum, nickel, cobalt, copper, for the most part, these are public lands um, based assets,
Western US
resources.
based.
Yeah, and at
Yeah.
least, the larger occurrences, the ones that we think have the best chance of being commercial. And not just federal lands, but also tribal lands. So that introduces the goals and objectives and the desires of the indigenous
Yeah.
groups, and how they feel about developing those. And boy, watching the Canadians over the years on all this, I mean, we faced a lot of that here. So sensible public lands policies and getting on the same page with tribal groups upstream is probably the most important thing. Then to your point, Khalil, on processing, everybody talks about mining and nobody ever talks about smelting. People don't like smelting very much. We've done a really good
You
job of
don't
shutting
like
down
you don't
smelting.
like mining either.
I'm,
And that's
I've
a
been
challenge.
trying. I was trying to work through the data last year on some stuff, and oh, like some of the easier numbers, like we used to have around 30 aluminum smelters. A lot of them were developed with the large hydroelectric projects out west, especially in the Pacific Northwest. That electricity, federally subsidized, was really, really cheap. And aluminum smelters like cheap electricity. I mean, that is just, those two things go together. And over the years, we've gone from 30 aluminum smelters to 4 or 3. I have to think about where things stand with the one in Missouri. That's an enormous. Now, this have to be the largest aluminum producer in the world, but this is a great illustration of the dilemma that we have as Americans. What are we really willing to do, and how
Yeah.
we'll do it? Some of those smelters were in Texas. So back in the 1970s, during our response to that oil price shock, when things were blowing and going down here, and we're drilling offshore, the shelf is, Gulf of Mexico shelf is under intense development and everything else. We were making aluminum, making steel, fabricating metal in Texas, oil country goods, and we don't do that anymore. You know, so we've shut down all the lead smelters. Well, there's a lot of reasons why people don't like lead smelters, but a lot of stuff gets captured that's very useful when you process lead. We have one zinc smelter that doesn't have sufficient capacity for all of the zinc mining, and these things are important because a lot of the minerals that are in contention, where we have seen China in particular take specific actions to try to influence the supply of minerals that they control. Germanium, gallium, antimony, all of these are drop out of the supply chain, the processing side, the midstream, let's say, of minerals. So like lead, zinc, copper, and so on. So if we don't do it here, then, we're risking economic and national security because we have no other way to get them unless somebody else, you know, produces them for us. So there was this multi-pronged approach, in the previous administration that got rolled out. Um, Try to restore mining in the United States, processing in the United States, also invest abroad. I don't think we've done a very good job with either one, frankly. To restore mining and processing in the United States, you really have to make a case to the American people. Here's why it's important. And we have to have a better regulatory framework and a better
Yeah.
labor
We have to commit to it.
cost. Otherwise, we're just not competitive. Um,
Yeah.
and have an honest conversation about that. And then to go abroad, we have to decide whether we're really willing to have, the Secretary of State running around the world doing minerals deals. There are a lot of other things that person could be doing, So those are that loaded question of what about mining in the United States? Boy, that's a really loaded question. And we can't just, rely on, say, the Canadians. That's we have to have a full conversation with them about, what it is that we're all doing and how what's the benefit to them as the counterparty.